More often than not, when playing a game, particularly the campaign of a multiplayer FPS game that's kind of been stapled on and shipped as a package, get some people to buy it, maybe if they weren't going to originally, you'll end up seeing a gimmick level of some kind to try and stand out from the competition in some way. One of the few FPS games of this variety that I have personally played, beyond your normal Halo 343 games and an occasional round of Call of Duty Zombies for someone of my age, is a little title called Titanfall 2. Released in 2016 via EA and Respawn Entertainment to admittedly disappointing sales, being sandwiched between a personal favorite of mine, Battlefield 1, and then Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, a game I don't know anything about or have strong feelings other than the fact that it is a Call of Duty game, and that bears some weight behind it. Going into a bit of unneeded background on the game, as I normally do, it has easily one of my favorite movement mechanics I have interacted with, even if I am admittedly not particularly skilled in it with what all can be done. Wall running and double jumps, mixed with a very quick movement and speed, results in insanely fast contact to kill time for multiplayer matches, as I mentioned previously in my Sven's Game of the Year video a few years back, and after almost a decade of it being stewing off in a little corner, obviously meta builds and techniques have been growing and perfected, along with their annoyance at Apex Legends for existing. And as I record this, there was recently the false leak about Titanfall 3, though maybe that's changed since the time you've watched it, but I'm firmly in the camp that this is a false leak, given the fact that Titanfall 3 doesn't have nearly as much selling power as something like a Battle Pass game. All that aside, with the previous mention of the filler level used to show amazing and perhaps a bit unique mechanics, the one I want to touch on contains one of my favorite mechanics or tropes in any form of fiction: time travel. Being shown wonderfully in a game that released only a month later from this, also the second in a series, Dishonored 2, with Crack in the Slab being a brilliant example of time travel done right as a game mechanic. And having sidetracked myself enough, let's get on to this level I've mentioned. The fifth level in Titanfall 2, Effect and Cause. Having just dealt with Ash and one of the more mind-bending levels in gaming for its masterful environment, we find ourselves in a research facility, torn asunder by something. The signs of temporal anomalies dotting the walls of the structure, if you care to take a look, they will be harbingers of what's to come. Watching through the artifact analysis lab all seems normal for a place that was abandoned little more than a half century ago, before our vision warps. And suddenly, it's up and running again, filled with bustling robots carrying out tasks, and as quickly as we find ourselves here, the room's in ruins again. A few years of plant growth have started to reclaim the building as well, easily showing that this building was abandoned a long time ago. And as we keep going through, it happens again, resulting in us being informed by BD, our aforementioned Titan that falls, that apparently this happens often enough that there are multiple accounts of such events happening, and as we saw on the walls earlier, templates for signs telling people to stay out lest they be caught in these aforementioned temporal anomalies. Further on, we find ourselves in a lecture hall, and as we head down, we see the first instance of our presence and actions starting to change the past to result in the future we are currently in. Walking right up to the lecturer, he gets very annoyed at us for interrupting him. And what have we interrupted? Oddly enough, it seems to be a masterclass on temporal anomalies, and inside these recorded lectures, you can hear him remark to us, clearly, something is going on. Looking at the bodies strewn about, it becomes clear that whatever caused the accident, the one that has the signs plastered about, caught them in it as well, resulting in what appears to be spontaneous mummification. Continuing through the wall vents and yet another temporal warp, we are greeted by prowlers and creatively named flyers, both of which will be slowly prowling after us and flying around, resulting in, occasionally, when we get into combat, them bum rushing us and resulting in combats being far more difficult for me than one might expect for a creature of this variety. We jump again and stumble upon, for what this game is, a magnificent view and breathtaking skybox, as whatever this facility is, clearly it's important enough to have a half dozen or so titans patrolling the grounds. Dropping down and snagging a collectible or two, we keep looking for our contact, Major Anderson, who reportedly has his biosignature somewhere around this area, and eventually we find him. Or at the very least, the front half of him, having somehow managed to throw himself through at least 6 inches of reinforced concrete and rebar. How he did that? Well, maybe we'll find out, but it's a damn miracle his body is relatively intact. Reporting this to BD, we get a bit of a preview of the fastball special we will later see, sending a power line up to an opening. And as this is happening, we use the helmet of Anderson, which contains a very useful feature for any briefings that can be recorded, though this does bring with it, I assume, a fair amount of security risk, considering if you get the helmet, you will have all the recorded information you could want from the pilot.
Mr. Anderson, 2 weeks ago we intercepted IMC comms. They found something on Typhon. A massive blast of energy was discharged at this location, creating time distortions. I want SRS on the ground to infiltrate the facility.
Roger that. I'll get some answers.
This wrist-mounted device we recovered during Operation Grizzly should protect you. We know the IMC have contracted Kuben Blisk and his mercenaries to protect something critical there, so watch your back. And Anderson, you know how much I love writing death reports, so don't go it alone. The SRS is a team.
Learning what he was sent in with, a sort of wrist-mounted device, assumedly, it's on his other arm, which is in some part of the facility we have not been through. Moving through the building, we get assaulted by hordes and hordes of stalkers, scrambling towards us like zombies, dragging across the ground, and I am not ashamed to admit it. With my mediocre skills in FPS games, this room, and most rooms like it, are one of the most difficult parts of any game I have played, specifically within the shooter genre, but my skills and lack thereof with the movement and firefights are truly coming out here, especially given my insistence to play on master difficulty this time around. Heading upstairs, we jump through time again, coming into contact with armed security. As we slip back into the past, they are scrambling to respond, attempting to suss out how we've managed to evade patrols, security, throwing out the idea of an advanced cloaking device, which, assuming you're not accounting the fact that the invader is actively moving through time, is a very fair assessment. And here, as this happens, we see the point of this whole video and the ramblings up to this point, the major blow we can deal to our foes as we engage with them. As said by Gontar O'Dim, the most romantic of the 4 dimensions is at our hand. Time. time is far more romantic than width. Slipping past the guards with no input from our own skill as we cross the bridge, the facility has gone into full lockdown. Quite understandably to have that concern about the gentleman who is teleporting all over the place with neither rhyme nor reason. And finally, we stumble upon our objective. The upper half of Anderson, doing a little bit of grave robbing, corpse plundering, whatever you like to call it. We find this temporal device. A device that the militia, the organization we're fighting for, found during Operation Grizzly. Now, given my record of going into a bit too much detail on missions of historical significance or background, as particularly seen in my Assassin's Creed Rogue video and my fairly lengthy dive into the assorted history of everyone, I will now go on a diatribe of the specifics of Operation Grizzly, the people involved, what it was done, the location, and any specific details. But from my very quick research, there's nothing to report. Having looked through it, we know that Anderson was involved, and it was against the group that we are currently assaulting. That is all we know. Flicking back and forth in time, we get a quick and dirty tutorial on how to use this thing. Crossing a massive gorge of fire and sparks, we end up entering the source of all manner of beasties inside this place. Surprisingly, it seems that in the chaos they had escaped. Having to work around some shorting doors, hearing once more about our assumed location, we get a real taste of what this time travel can do. While blinking back, we can see the remnant of where our target is, or rather was, allowing you to quickly keep up with adjusting your fire for the target, no matter where or when you are. And as a result, we're able to get a quick escape to heal up and get back into the fray instantly without too much issue, just so long as you keep an eye on the glowing particles. One of the more interesting parts of the level, in my opinion, is the elevator sequence. We are not in an elevator, but waiting to get one. For most of the level until this point, you have either fought enemies in the past or the present. But here, as you're waiting for the elevator to clear out and give you a path upwards, if you go back into the present timeline, you get assailed with the prowlers seen before, making you have to split your resources between the past and the present. The past having a large amount of the heavy shield enemies, which can be taken care of with a few explosives thrown behind them, or the satchel charges, very useful in this situation. And then we have the present, which has the prowlers constantly going after you. And let me tell you, on master difficulty, they can take a beating. And because of these two fronts that you're actively fighting on, you have very little time to regroup and heal. You have to make full use of the alternate timelines you have access to and wall running. All in all, a really wonderful, let's just say, immediate test of fire to see if you can, in fact, stumble your way through a combat with this. Along the way, we also get the helmet recordings done by Major Anderson, explaining a little bit more of what he was aiming to do with this mission. The discovery of what is called the Fold Weapon and its arc. Turns out, the entire reason for the operation we initially have on this planet, way back in the beginning of the game, again, assuming I have read everything correctly, is the result of this weapon, the Fold Weapon we are currently in, being fired early and destroying the moon outside of the planet as the result of a test gone wrong, due to us, in our magnificent skills of infiltration, triggering every single security function known to man inside of this campus. And unsurprisingly, with having something the ability to destroy entire moons and even planets, the main one that was being aimed at for actual assault was the planet of Harmony, one of the base planets for the militia. You generally want to remove that from the equation. The final stretch of the level has a test of all we have learned. Starting off with a softball, bit of parkour, needing to jump between the timelines in the air as to remain on the platforms while dealing with a light dusting of foes, going through what was reportedly a cryoprison during its original design phase, according to the design notes of senior designer Jake Keating. I highly recommend listening to his interviews. Very interesting to learn some of the background. Following our warm-up, we have a bit of a timing puzzle that has killed me more times than I would generally like to admit. Dropping down a chute filled with fan blades and fire. It takes a bit of timing to work. Generally, it's difficult, but very doable if you have any sense of timing and skill. And then we receive the final note from Major Anderson. It seems us existing in the same timeline as him, and using the device near constantly, has made his short out, resulting in him going caterwauling through time, and, as a result, being stuck halfway through the floor, and, again, somehow managing to break through 6 inches minimum of reinforced concrete and rebar. Heading outside, we rendezvous with BT, as we go through what seems to be a small scale of how the full weapon actually functions. The one final gauntlet we have after this model, constantly being swarmed by gunfire, coming from all sides, truly showing how questionable my skill is in these type of games, more than once forcing us to deal with a two-front war. And as we exit to extend the bridge to get to the aforementioned Ark and scan it for research, a few Titans are added into the mix, resulting in quite a few accidental rodeo attacks, as I am quite literally jumping into and on top of them, both through space and time. And as this is happening, the bridge is slowly being extended, and General Martyr, one of the major people in charge of this facility, is giving orders to fire the weapon, which will result in the test that goes horribly wrong. As this is happening, we do see something that gives far more questions than answers to me, even more so than the time travel, even above how this weapon exists and what precursor civilization made it. How the hell does a hacking knife work? Like, what are the logistics behind something like this? But putting that back in its sheath for later questioning, we leave the control room and get into BD, as we have the apex of this level. Turns out, with us inside it, he can join us through our merry little jaunt, not just through comms, but in physical presence. This continues to be a pure test of skill and situational awareness, unlike a crack in the slab where you can preview the area you will be jumping to. You're going in blind. If you've spent too long in one timeline, the little glowing orbs you have, gone. You have to generally assume where people might be, given on how you acted previously. In this level, everything has been slowly building in tempo, in a massive crescendo, as we keep dancing across space and time. The tempo and volume building more and more, as players are added into this symphony, another spinning plate added to the pile. The arc behind us is building up energy, spinning. There is a massive swarm of soldiers getting ready to intercept us, make sure that we can't. Artillery is out. Small army of Titans appearing, getting dropped in. It's building, and suddenly, silencio. Everything goes white. As we stay in a moment in time, nothing but a floating melody to accompany us as we walk through what is one of the most beautiful screen captures I have seen in gaming. The world is being torn apart around us as we gaze into the faces of these people, unaware of what is currently happening, beyond the fact that there was a gigantic explosion. We wall run across the crumbling arches of the fold weapon, the walls slowly being torn apart, and then we reach our goal, scanning this arc, staring into this deep color out of space, or more accurately, is it a color out of time? And then suddenly we get pulled back right at the beginning in front of BD before all of the device breaking happened. Our mission is over. And with it, the life contained inside the temporal device is broken. Most likely beyond repair, and another piece out of play. Resulting in, again, what I think is one of the most fascinating levels in a FPS game of any variety. And having come from a sequel to a game not known for its story, but rather its multiplayer aspect with the ability to craft builds for Titans, it really is remarkable that we got something of this quality, and even more so that there was a second game in the same year that had a brilliantly done time travel level as well, though I would say what it lacks in spectacle, Dishonored's level makes up for it in spades with the result of the reactivity of the world. And both are still talked about from time to time, though admittedly I have very much missed the bandwagon for that. And yes, the pun was fully intended. Looking into some of the developer interviews, it's interesting to hear about some of the process that went behind the creation of the game, particularly with the absolute chicken scratch mess of polygons that was sent to the art team to create something that was this magnificent. I will be linking some of the videos I watched on the subject below, just so you can get a general idea of what I was talking about throughout the level, and I highly recommend checking them out. They are far better produced than this is, or any video I could make is. I've tried looking into how the level was actually made, with the aforementioned interviews, and with this mentioned before in the video, a crack in the slab, the way they managed to do it was teleport you either really far up or down to get the effect of time travel. And I'm wondering if something similar was done here, but if it has, I haven't found it yet, given the answer to this particular question and is, I'm sure, somewhere on the internet. And I'm even more certain that someone in the comments, should this pick up traction, will have found it with a quick Google search I didn't think of wording a certain way. So, if you do know how this sausage was made, please give me the source and how you do know, because I feel that would be absolutely fascinating to learn. And so, this level, while not holding one particular moment, save for the one at the end, that would be particularly ingrained forever in the memory of those who played it, and as the gaming community in a whole, I do thoroughly believe that this is the best level within the game. maybe not the most memorable or the most action-packed. The one with Viper is a particular fan favorite due to the uniqueness of the fight, but I do fully believe that this is one of the best shows of time travel as a mechanic in almost any form of fiction. And the other major bonus is it removes the time travel device from the equation entirely, as to not cause further plot holes due to its lack of use in other moments, with a particular thought coming to mind for an example, given the media I consumed as a youth. But with this, please do tell me your thoughts. Are there any particular moments I missed within this level that you think I should have touched on? Anything you feel I touched on a bit too much? Maybe there's a different level within this game that is even better to your mind. So please do let me know what you think. I know this video is coming out significantly later than it should. Was thinking about maybe throwing in a gag of time travel on it. Play things a little coy, but given my inability to get things out at a reasonable hour, I think that'd be cruel to throw at you. Hopefully, in the month of April, actually in the month of May, I believe, there's going to be the 10-year anniversary of The Witcher 3 being released. And I hope to have a video about the tutorial of White Orchard and how I believe that is one of the best examples of a tutorial level done right in gaming. But we will see how that goes. As always, I am Sven. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts down below. Do with it as you see fit. And until next time, this is Elvin Prince, signing out.